Here with more, White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller. You know, I don't know why the legacy media mob, they don't like you, because your own wife said that you put yourself in harm's way to protect her. And then the media, they spun it the exact opposite way when it's not true. I mean, you can't win for losing here, Stephen.
Well, I will say that I was very gratified to see, although I certainly would never seek it out, all the people online, on social media who were saying positive things. But it's just a husband's natural reaction. You know, we're down there, you hear all the glass breaking, you hear all of the plates dropping, you look around, you see everybody huddled to the ground. Like, what is any husband's instinct going to be? He's going to obviously put his body over his wife, in this case, my very pregnant wife. And so, again, that's just any husband's first reaction in that situation. But let me also just say what an exemplary job Secret Service did inside that room. What I saw is very fascinating. After the shots were fired and everybody was dropped to the ground, I looked around. I saw agent after agent after agent with weapons unholstered running towards the danger. I also saw a Secret Service agent within seconds get in front of the president to be that human shield. And I saw a president of the United States demonstrate total, absolute calm under fire, calm, confidence, command under pressure. Here's a man who has endured multiple repeated assassination attempts brought about by radical left-wing rhetoric, radical left-wing hate, and he is unfazed, undaunted, undeterred. But that being said, Sean, we must condemn the Democrat Party's rhetoric of hate and violence that continues to lead to these heinous attacks.
You know, I'm looking at the three examples. We have Butler, we have Trump International, we have what happened last Saturday night. In my view, things have to change a little bit. You're right. I have nothing but the highest praise for the agents on the ground that night. They will take a bullet for everybody in that room. They acted, you know, so fast. It was amazing to watch them in action. I'm worried that maybe we need multiple perimeters. Maybe they need to be further away from any venue where the president is. Maybe, you know, if it's going to be in a ballroom that has a hotel associated with it, why isn't every room swept? And after you sweep it, you clear it, you hold it. If they don't have the resources to do it, which I understand is a real concern, at that point, I would suggest that maybe that's not the right venue. This can't keep happening. They didn't sweep the treat area by those holes at Trump International. How did a guy get on a roof 130 yards away in Butler? I'm getting concerned, not about the agents, not about their bravery, not about their courage. I'm getting concerned that the perimeter is not far enough. I'm concerned there's not enough sweeping going on.
Yes, well, look, I can tell you that the Secret Service takes very seriously all of the questions that have been raised after each of these incidences, and every time one of these incidences occurs, they go into planning mode to adjust and adapt and change tactics based on each new evolving threat. But as the president mentioned, this venue is a uniquely challenging venue as a ballroom venue. The number of different entrances into the hotel, the number of guests that are staying at the hotel, the number of protectees, the number of government officials that are here at the same time, the number of obviously media personalities and business officials and everyone else. And it's, again, part of security. It's a very important point. Part of security is also having the most secure venues, and that's why we need the White House ballroom. But let me just say again, President Trump has shown leadership over and over and over again in the face of death and in the face of danger. But what we need is a Democrat Party that is going to tell its radical members and base to stop fomenting hatred and violence that is threatening the life of our president and is threatening the safety of Republicans and conservatives all over this country.
Hey, Stephen, they're threatening your family. They've doxed your house. They've doxed your family. You've got now 3 young kids at home. I mean, this has got to stop. Their rhetoric is so over the top. It is dehumanizing. It is insightful. You couldn't be more right. Anyway, I'm glad you're safe. I'm glad Katie's safe. I'm glad the baby's safe.
It's all that
scary
matters.
Times.
Yes, and look,
at the end of the day.
look, those of us serving President Trump, we follow his example. We don't think about our safety. What we think about is doing our job for the American people. And President Trump understands that we can't have a republic, we can't have a functioning democracy when you have radical left-wing domestic terrorists that are constantly at war, violently at war, with the people that are trying to serve this country. What happened to Charlie Kirk, what's happened over and over again to Republicans and conservatives across this country, what happened in the near-death experiences for President Trump is completely and totally the result and the byproduct of a campaign of dehumanization from the radical left in this country. And we have to recognize that, Sean, and be honest about it.
It's dehumanizing. It's insightful. And frankly, their words have meaning. And there are crazy people out there, and they listen to it day in and day out. Nazi, fascist, racist, Gestapo. It's got to stop. Stephen Miller, glad you're safe. Glad the president's safe and everybody else. All right, thanks for watching. Check out my new podcast, Hanging Out with me, Sean Hannity. The big interviews, the debates you won't get anywhere else. Like and subscribe for new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday.